What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It is starting 11 prediction time for Sunday's derby at Celtic Park against Rangers. It is the third derby in 4 weeks, and like we always say with this fixture, the next one is always the biggest one. That's certainly the case on Sunday, because as we know, 3 points will basically put both hands on the league trophy for us. We'll be 9 points clear. Massively superior goal difference. I think it'll be 20 odd goals if we do win the game. 3 games left to play, basically all but mathematically secured. So it's a huge game for us. It will be a difficult one. The last meeting at Hampden in the semi-final was a really close, hard-fought game. Rangers edged it, and I don't think we can expect that this is going to be easy at all on Sunday. It'll be very, very difficult, but with the crowd behind us at home, if we can replicate those levels for that derby at Celtic Park in February, I've got full confidence that we can win the game and take that massive step towards securing the title. Obviously, Rangers come into this off the back of their Europa League semi-final first leg in Leipzig. They lost it 1-0 to a late goal. There was a lot of talk, I think too much talk from a fan's point of view last time. I think we put too much emphasis on the fact that they were playing Braga on Thursday night and that they would tire, because that's not how the game played out at Hampden. I'd say they looked like the team with slightly more energy, so we've got to try and avoid that this time and get on the front foot, use the home crowd, go right at them, come out the traps flying, pin them back as we did in that February game, and really try and get at them early doors and then control the game from there, because I think in the game at Hampden, they were the team that got on the front foot in the first half. Even though it was tight, they were the team that were winning the second balls and getting to things first, and we can't allow that to happen at Celtic Park on Sunday. They are obviously second in the table. That is where they'll be staying regardless of the result in this game, because they are 6 points behind us. A lot of talk about the permutations, obviously win, lose or draw. We're still going to be in a strong position to go ahead and clinch the title. If we draw the game, it's not a bad result for us at all. We can all but clinch it next week against Hearts, and even with a Rangers victory, we'll still find ourselves in a strong position. But we've got to go and perform on Sunday, put in a much better display than we did in that game at Hampden, and take the chances when we come along. We've got to capitalise on the moments that we get in the game. I heard the manager saying this today in an interview with Sky. That's what we've got to do. I think we didn't do that at Hampden. For all we didn't play well, we did have chances, and obviously the Carter Vickers one at 1-0 up to make it 2-0 could have killed the game. We've got to capitalise on those moments in this game when we get them. And as I say, if we get a fast start, I back us to go on and win the game. Now, in terms of the lineup, again, a few areas of the pitch where there's a lot of debate about who should play, namely midfield and up top. I'll come to them when we get to them, but we'll start in goals. As usual, with the starting 11, it will obviously be Joe Hart. The back four, I don't expect any changes. Juranovic is still injured, so it will be Ralston, Carter Vickers, Starfelt and Taylor completing the back four. That back five, as I say, Juranovic for most of the season, but Ralston, when he's come in, they've all performed really, really well across the season. Greg Taylor, I think in recent weeks, maybe the last 3 or 4, has really upped his level, and I think he's put in some really, really good performances. And I would argue that his best performances in a Celtic jersey have came against Rangers, so looking for more of that on Sunday. The midfield is one of those big areas where there's debate about who should play. Callum McGregor obviously captain the team. I fully expect him to play in the deeper position. Some talk in the last couple of weeks about whether we should play Beaton to give us more physicality in midfield after how the game unfolded at Hampden, but Beaton's been out injured. He's not even been involved in squads in the last couple of weeks, and the manager did say that he's back available this weekend, but I don't expect him to come in and start, so it'll be McGregor in that deeper position. I think Hatate will keep his place again at Ross County. Last weekend he played well in the first half, but then he had that period between 50 and 60 minutes in the second half where he really tailed off. He looked really tired. We know that he admitted this in those comments last week, feeling really fatigued, drained physically and emotionally from the transition of adapting to life at Celtic. But I think he will start in this game because he's the best fit for one of that three to have the balance between defence and attack. I think he's it. We'll need to keep an eye on him though, I think, as the game progresses, because we can't have someone in that midfield really tail off early in the second half. So that'll be one for the manager, but it's an area of the pitch where he's got a lot of options, and I expect strong options on the bench to come on if we need them. I think I've got this position wrong in the last couple of derbies. I think it's going to be Matt O'Reilly. One of the problems that we had at Hampden in the early period was that Rangers kept getting out through John Lundstrom, the man that was immune to getting booked that day. But he was their out ball when we were building out for the back, and we couldn't close the gaps because Rogic was too slow getting out to press, and him and Abada, between splitting the left back and Lundstrom and the left centre half, they just couldn't cover the ground and they couldn't get there quickly enough. They were just too late. I think the intensity has to be there from the word go on Sunday, and I think that means starting O'Reilly. I think O'Reilly's a bit better against the ball. He's a bit quicker. He's got a bit more energy about him. I think that the defensive stats in terms of O'Reilly's work off the ball back that up as well. So that's why I think O'Reilly has to start on Sunday. But again, it wouldn't surprise you to see Rogic get the nod. He was brilliant at Ibrox and then poor at Hampden. The manager really trusts him. He's been brilliant over the piece this season. But if he does start on the bench, that's a really strong option for us. I think we'll see both Rogic and O'Reilly at some point in the game. There's no doubt about that. But I just think that'll be the midfield three: McGregor, Hatate and O'Reilly. Now on the right-hand side, I think Jota will keep his place there. Poor at Hampden, and I talked last week about the overreaction to that performance. Excellent last weekend again. Puts in a dream cross for Kyogo's opener and then gets the clinching goal late on in the game. I think he's really adapted well to that right-hand side. It's a credit to Maida that he's been forced to play on the right-hand side, but he's adapted to it really well. And I think he's looked really, really strong there over the last couple of months. So I think he'll start on the right-hand side. We do need a better performance from him than he put in at Hampden, but that goes for the whole team, really. I don't think you can restrict that to one individual. I think collectively, in terms of our energy and making the most of the attacking chances that we create, that goes for the whole team from that performance at Hampden. So I think he'll be in the right-hand side. The left-hand side will be Dyson Maida. I just think he's one of the first names in the team sheet. He hasn't really come out since he got that position on the left hand side. He's barely come out the team, and I think he really, really helps us, particularly off the ball. And as I say, that's going to be massively important in this game. I think we've got to go and press Rangers from the word go. They maybe got in the front foot in terms of that at Hampden. We've got to use the home crowd and get at them for the word go. And I think Maeda is massively, massively important in helping us do that. He has got a knack of getting in the right position as well. He scored a lot of scruffy goals, but it's because his position has been so good. And I think last weekend you seen some nice dovetailing between him and Kyogo, some really nice interchanges and movements off the ball. And I think he's really, really dangerous, Maida. So he's got to start for me, and I think he will start on the left-hand side. And that brings me to who is leading the line. It's the big debate. Really, really split. Just going by social media, I think you could cut the fan base down the middle about who would start Kyogo, who would start Giakoumakis. Giakoumakis obviously started in both games where we beat Rangers this season. Celtic Park, he was excellent. Could have got a couple of goals that night, and then he put in a really good performance at Ibrox as well. It's a tough one. It is really tough. I think physically, Giakoumakis is going to occupy Rangers' back four if they go a back five. Their centre halves are going to be more concerned physically with Giakoumakis. There's no doubt about that. But Kyogo's movement is really, really dangerous. And as I say, there's been times this season where I've watched Rangers domestically and they look vulnerable in behind. Now, if they're going to approach this game the same way they did the game at Hampden and come out and try and press us away from home in that atmosphere at Celtic Park, there might be spaces in behind, and that's where I think Kyogo's movement could really hurt them. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Kyogo. As I say, you probably split people down the middle 50-50. I know there'll be a lot of you in the comments saying you've got to start Giakoumakis because you started twice against them. We've got 2 victories. I don't think that is a direct individual consequence of just starting Giakoumakis. I think the all-round team performances on those days were much better. Kyogo's had made 2 appearances against Rangers. One was at Ibrox back at the start of the season where he started on the left wing, and the other one he came off the bench at Hampden a couple of weeks ago, just back from a long spell out, and a game where we weren't on the front foot and we couldn't get any balls in behind. He didn't have much to feed off of. So I think we've got to unleash him. We've got to see how he copes in this fixture. We know that he's a man for the big moments. He scored some big goals in big games for us. and you'd back him to do the same again if he gets chances. You look at his performance against Ross County last week, maybe still a wee bit rusty in terms of finishing, but we know from his time already that he gets a lot of chances. He doesn't convert them all. If he converted them all, he'd have scored about 50, 60 goals this season. He did get one last week. He could have had 3 or 4, but you back him to get in positions and get on the end of chances and score big goals. That's why I've went with him. And listen, I know that there'll be a lot of debate about that, but that's what it's all about. That's why the manager gets paid the big money. He did say in that interview with Sky today he could play both of them. I really don't expect that. I know he could, but that would mean, for me, putting Kyogo on the left-hand side and taking Maida out of the team. If you're not taking Maida out of the team, you're taking Jota out of the team, and I don't see that happening. We're not going to play 2 strikers and a traditional 2 up front. That's almost never happened at any point this season, so he's not going to start it now, the manager. So I think Kyogo might be the one that leads the line. So there you go. That's 11 I predict the manager will go with. Like this video. Let me know your starting lineups below. Enjoy the game wherever you are watching it tomorrow. It's a massive, massive game for us, and what better way to all but clinch the title than to put Rangers to the sword tomorrow. We'll be back after the game at Celtic Park with all the full-time reaction as usual. Mono Hoops.